Headbangers.
Next on my list is a little preview of your list. It's Leonardo, the self-titled album.
On the west, death to the holy.
What a fucking album that was. What an album. I forgot it came out this year. Like, I literally forgot it came out this year because I've been listening to it throughout the year and I thought it was like an album from last year. But it just came out really it's that early that it kind of blended into one for me. But if you like black metal, if you like sort of even I'd even risk saying country in in
Oh,
some aspects,
definitely.
especially
Absolutely.
with his vocal style. If you just like really good singing, you're gonna like this album. Like, there's so many elements layered on top of each other in this album that just should on paper shouldn't work, but work. Like, he's got like this just really nice, soft, sort of almost country sounding like guitar and vocal, and all of a sudden you just hear fucking screaming at you, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" It's like same thing with Mo, that shoegazy stuff as well. He's got a bit of that
Mhm.
in there. Honestly, there's so much stuff to unpack that I think it would be very hard for someone to say, "I don't like this album because of this." There'll be I think there's an element in there for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I might as well spoil it now. That is my favorite album of the year. Like, it came out very early on, so to say that it still managed to be the top out of all the albums, because I was like, I listened to the first album. This is fucking phenomenal. I was like, I'll be surprised if anything can top this. But then obviously the thought, like the year just beginning, sort of, it came out early on. I was like, surely there's going to be an album that can top it for me, and nothing came along that really blew me away. Like every song is so unique and different, but that's a testament to the band themselves because there's so many different things that they play around with. They've got their foot in blues, they've got their foot in country, they've got their foot in, death metal, black metal. And it's just perfect. Like, the whole thing with the choir singing behind when they've got the heavy breakdowns. You've got like that song that's like I think one of the fourth song maybe when it's just like electronic beat, just like a really like lo-fi beat, and then it's just a blast beat with black metal like, for like 30 seconds of like on paper this shot sounds like it shouldn't work, but it absolutely does.
It's like
And yeah.
it's like the song Gothenburg. I think I'm
Oh,
pronouncing that right.
banger.
What a banger! Not only that, the guy switches from singing in English to screaming in German. I think it's German, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like,
Yeah. No, honestly, that's it. Like, there's so many good riffs in this, but they know when to break it down. Like it's almost like they do it as like a pop structure in a way. Like, it's not just a mess and it's not progressive in a way, but it's just sort of the right sweet spot of each thing happening as it should be.
you could tell
Um,
everything's added in a song intentionally, not just to fill it out.
yeah, because to juggle all those genres, like, not just like the sub genres of metal, but to do like country and blues in there as well, that's a hard thing to do. But they managed to do it so well. Like nobody sounds like Leonardo. They are their own thing. Very experimental. And I've got to give credit to the fucking it was my top listen song of the year, which is Death to the Holy. Because that song is fucking phenomenal. Like, his clean vocals are just as good as his harsh vocals. Like, he's got extremely good black metal vocals and he's got extremely good normal vocals too. And so I think the best thing about this album is just it's a roller coaster from start to finish. You don't know what you're going to get with the next song, but they all match up to each other and it all links together very well too.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah, honestly,
even if you
perfect.
like fucking industrial, like
Yeah,
there's some industrial
Gothenburg
aspects
is
in there
like
as well.
that's a
Like,
pretty much industrial song.
yeah, it's mate, it was just an absolute fucking freak, and it's the only reason why it's not higher on my list is because there's just certain albums that I just were more for me in general, but this album was so fucking good. Like, honestly, it was just so good. And no, Brad, you didn't get me into Leonardo. Before you fucking say, because you bring it up every time I recommend Leonardo to someone,
Pretty sure I did.
I listened to the first track before the album had been released. I didn't like the song, so I didn't keep up with the band. And then a month later, you sent me the fucking album, and I was there like, yeah, I listened to this, and you're like, no, I showed you. But I'll admit, they're fucking banging.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even just like, you've got some songs in there that's like a nice breakup of the album too, like Golden Liar, which is like, quite acoustic and slow, like almost like sounds like a cowboy song, you know what I mean? It's got that sort of western feel to it. So like honestly, it's absolute perfection in an album. Like this band just continues to blow me away. Like the
And
last album was so critically acclaimed, but I think this is their magnum opus, to be honest.
at the time we're recording it, they released just another banger last week.
I know, it was great.
Like, and that were fucking great and all.
Yeah, honestly, this band is moving milestones at the moment. So yeah, if they're not on your radar, please check them out because goddamn.
Definitely.
So my next one is Bloodbath, Survival of the Sickest. So no surprise. I mean, if you listen to one of our previous podcasts, I did explain how much I love this album. We also got to talk to a member of Bloodbath too, Thomas. My God, fucking hell! Like I said, there's been a lot of like great new death metal bands come out that have released some fucking monster albums this year. It's like a fucking blur my words there. But yeah, monstrous albums this year. But this album proved to me that, I guess what you call a legacy band now, considering that Bloodbath's been around since the early 2000s, can still come and show the younger bands how it's done. Fucking Riff City throughout. You've got the amazing feature from Barney in the second song, which is my favorite on the album. Then you've got Zombie Inferno, which is the first single that was released, and that's just fucking insane. Like this whole album has got like a comic-y feel to it, even the lyrical themes, like very standard death metal stuff. But it showed that, Bloodbath just want to come and have fun again. Like the musicianship is taken very seriously, but the lyrical themes are sort of more fun, I guess, very cartoony horror sort of vibes. But then you've got like songs like No God Before Me, which is like a slow, doomy song at the end of the album, which you would thought might not fit the album too well, considering that everything's quite fast paced. But then this album, the song on the album just builds up. It's very progressive and it's like an interesting step for Bloodbath. Every song on the album is great. Like there's not really a sleeper song. Everything flows well. I never have to skip any songs, which is great. Nick's vocals have sounded the best that they've ever been. You can tell that they're just a very passionate band, and Bloodbath to me has always been my favorite supergroup. And they get talent across all the board. You've got members from Opeth that have come in, members from Catatonia. Now you've got Paradise Lost with Nick. So yeah, I think every member brings their own style from their own band into it, and that's why Bloodbath have always been untouchable, because they've got the best talent from every death metal band. So I think they'll always be moving miles. But yeah, this album in particular is probably my favorite Bloodbath album. I think close with fucking hell, I can't remember the name. It's like the second album, but it's got Mikhail on it.
Yeah, honestly, what a fucking album! I really enjoyed that too. It's not on my list.
Resurrection of Carnage. That's it. There you go.
Rectum of Carnage.
No, Resurrection of Carnage.
I thought you said rectum. Let's move on. Rectum of Carnage.
Sounds like a legit death metal album, to be honest.
It does, doesn't it? I didn't even question it. No, I really enjoyed this album. I thought it was a really good one. It's not on my list, but it's definitely like probably on number 11 slot. If we did do it up to like 20, which I don't think we could. But if it would be at the probably number 11 slot, because it is a fucking great album. I've always had a really sweet spot for Bloodbath. I think I've always like really enjoyed them musically, because I'm obviously a bit more. I'm a bit of a death metal kid. That's that gets me going. That sounded weird. That actually, that gets me going.
I mean, this album did, to be fair. Fucking riffs in it. Oh,
Brad, TMI, Brad. Well, what you do outside of the podcast, we don't need to know.
I have no shame. Not for this album.
No, but you know that's what I enjoy. You know, like that's what I navigate to anyway. Um, and ever since I saw them at Bloodstock, they've always been a sweet spot. And yeah, this album was just fucking relentless all the way through. I like it. It's nice seeing like an older band just fucking go, yeah, we still got it. Like, so yeah, it was great. It was a great listen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Bloodbath to me always been my favorite death metal band. They just get everything right, tick all the boxes, and this album is reminiscent of that. I think it's the best, one of the best albums I've ever released. And yeah, I have no doubt if you like death metal, these are on your radar. But if not, check this album out. Fucking bangs.
Definitely. So, are we in the top four? No, we're in the top five now. We're in the top five. So this is where it's actually ordered. You know, like the other ones,
Okay.
like for me, the other ones were just like, here's what I like, blah blah blah. No particular order. This top four, I specifically organized it because of how much I enjoy it. So
hmm
at my number four slot, I've got Speed, a gang called Speed. Um, well, Gang Called Speed, is the album name. Australian hardcore band. They kind of got popular. They kind of blew up last year because of their track that they released. I can't. Let me bring up the name, because it's a pretty important track, and I feel like if I didn't mention that track, I'm doing the band a disservice by talking about their like sort of history.
Mm.
We See You, that got over 1 million streams. Like had a great music video and hit like a fucking train. This fucking album pretty much follows suit from what We See You built. It kind of just comes out, hits like a fucking train. A lot of the songs have great music videos as well to go with them. And it's just, it's just great hardcore. I don't know how to explain it. But if you're a fan of hardcore, you're gonna fucking love this album because it's perfect. It is honestly, it's so fucking good. And they're getting so much attention for fucking great reasons because they're such a solid, tight band. Like I'm not even. It's just so solid. Like someone could say this, me talking about this band, those specific bits, and just really take it out of context. So solid, such a tight band. No, but they're
Is it
fucking
speed
great.
or is it Nathan's bowel movements? Find out next time.
So solid, like a rock. No, honestly, fucking great band,
So
man.
solid.
Great band. Like I'm not. It just the entire album just slaps. I can't. You know what? You know when you get one of those like fucking albums that come out, and like, there's not a one bad song on this album.
Yeah.
This is that album.
No
Like,
skippers.
there's nothing you can skip. There's nothing that you go, I'm gonna skip this. It's everything's fucking great. Everything is just bang 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 bang. It's just constant aggression, and it doesn't fucking let out, and it's just like so great, honestly.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. So next to me is Tribal Gaze, the Nine Choirs.
Oh,
Monstrous.
oh,
Like, I mean, out of my list, to be honest, this is my favorite death metal album of the year. It's just fucking phenomenal. Like, I remember just hearing about everyone's chatting like Tribal Gaze, Tribal Gaze, Tribal Gaze, and I was like, I have to see what's fucking going on here. And I listened to it, I was like, I've never heard in like the last probably 2 years such fucking gigantic destructive riffs, and that's just what it is. And the vocal style, like everything about it, everything's produced really well. Like everything, because sometimes you listen to like an album and like you wish something would be higher in the mix, like just to make it just that bit more punchy. But like not to the fact when it's too produced, but when it's like just the right amount of production. But everything's mixed really well, and that's exactly it. It's still got the rawness, but it's nicely produced too. And like, from the lyrical theme about like fucking dark angels coming down and destroying everything, from what we talked about with Quentin, like it's such an interesting lyrical theme, but it fits the music so well. Like it feels like
yeah.
you listen to what he's saying, like, fucking it feels like the world is getting crushed by these massive fucking angels. Listen to the lyrics and you'll understand what I mean. I'm not describing it very well, but fuck me, it's just it's so punchy. Like every riff has got that crunch, and I think the crunch factor is very important with death metal. The same with like bands like Sanguisuga Bob who've got that crunch too, and it's probably the one of the heaviest death metal albums I've listened to this year. But it's also got that groove which comes from the hardcore influence. Like we talked about loads of times about death metal and hardcore kids. You know what I mean? Coming together to make an amazing album. And I think that's exactly what you get with this. It's as heavy as it is groovy. And
Mhm.
that is what's amazing about Tribal Gaze. This album is a masterpiece, a death metal instant classic, one of the best I've listened to.
Honestly, spoiler alert, this is my number two because it is unfucking believable how good it is. Like,
Yep.
I'm not gonna Tribal Gaze went under my radar until this album, and I think it was the same for a lot of people, you know. And I listened to the previous album, just as fucking good, just as good, on fucking par, amazing. I'm surprised I didn't fucking hear about them earlier. But on it, that fucking riff with this creature in with this creature I return, just I fucking that one section I just constantly put. It's such a fucking banger, but every single one of the songs have a riff like that where you just like go,
Yeah.
hang on,
Cold Devotion as well.
I
The
need
riffs in
to.
that.
You're like, I need to go back and like listen to that again. Like there was like, it took me ages to get through the album, mainly because there was so many good fucking riffs for it. I'm like, I just need to listen to that
But they
again. That
sound
was
massive
so
though.
good. Like,
The
yeah,
riffs like sound louder, like the louder than life riffs. Like it's got the punch.
yeah. But it's oh mate, they know what they're doing though. That's the thing though, they know what they're doing because like you'll just hear like a little on the drums, and then you fucking have this fat riff just crush you, and you're like, oh my god, it's so fucking good. Like honestly, it's one of those albums where Brad went, listen to it now, and I was there
Yeah.
like, listen, I listened to it on the bus. I was like, yo,
I
it's
felt
so fucking good.
I felt the same excitement listening to this album as the first time I listened to death metal. Like when you haven't heard anything like it before, even there, you know it's death metal, you know it's got some hardcore influence, you know what you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, but then it just takes that expectation for us out the window. Like it just gives you that
Exactly, yeah,
same almost like a nostalgia feeling in a weird way.
exactly. It gave me the passion I originally had for doubt, and admit, and the passion didn't go, but it made
Yep.
me feel like I'm listening to death metal again for the first time, and I was there like, shit, it's so fucking good, such a solid album, and like they're so like they've only released like obviously the album before that, and I think like maybe one or two other songs. They've got such a great future ahead of them because
Yeah,
if they're producing
absolutely.
this just on their second time round, fucking five out of like three albums down the line, I can't wait to hear what that sounds like.
It almost sounds like, I don't know, like someone in a lab made death metal with like, almost impossible to fuck up, like the
Mm,
perfect fucking death metal album. That's exactly this. Like, to be honest, like if someone said to me, I want to listen to death metal, what album would you recommend? I'd recommend this. I'm
yeah,
like,
same here,
this
same here. Yeah,
might not be the original fucking album that came out. It might not be like a legacy band, but like to see what death metal feels like and what it should sound like, and just the perfection, it's Tribal Gaze. So
hundred
hats off
percent,
to the
hundred
boys.
percent, 100%. They're fucking and getting to speak to Quentin, one of the nicest guys we've ever
Super
spoke
nice
to
dude.
on the podcast. One of the soundest guys, and I think we stayed after the interview for half an hour just chatting shit
Chatting
afterwards as
shit,
well.
yeah.
Nice guy, and makes fucking riffs that just slaps. The
Yeah.
honest, everything's perfect. If you haven't listened to this album yet, there's a reason why it's my number fucking two. And trust me, out of this year, I've listened to a lot of fucking death metal albums, but nothing has slapped as hard as this. So that's why it's my number two.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on my list, right, it wouldn't be my list if it didn't have one specific band on it. That